It makes a huge difference for the rest of the day. Like, you know, like just being around somebody like, you know, meeting with you guys on that Sunday night recharges me for the week and wants me to get going and do stuff. You know?
Yeah. So. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that at least we're helping each other, right? I mean, and I know that some of you have sent some messages, and I really appreciate them. I share as many as I can with these guys. I got a really nice one about a woman that lives in the mountains, and she said, you know, she said, if nothing else, she said, just so that you guys know, I'm out when I'm out walking. Picture me in the mountains listening to you guys on the podcast. Wow. And I said, you know, and you're helping me, and that's fucking awesome. Single mother, going to school, working really hard, and like, you know, to get messages like that, I think are really cool.
That's awesome. That's why we do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and these are people that you never would have met otherwise. So I mean, Scott, we mentioned removing Facebook, but like, and I fucking there's. It's like everything else, right? Too much of something is a bad thing. I agree with you, but we wouldn't be able to reach these people without Facebook. And also, being a single dad from where my daughter lives 8 hours away, I have to kind of watch her grow up, and I'm so thankful that I get to see these pictures of what she's doing. But you can get caught scrolling on your phone and waste a ton of precious time, right? So just like anything else, too much of something is probably bad.
Yeah, probably is.
You know,
you gotta like schedule it almost in that sense. Like he was saying, you know, like, you know, remove it off your phone, but like, you know, go home and you know, you answer emails, you do this, and like you have that hour or 2 hour block. You know,
right? Yeah, or maybe even not even scheduling, but limiting your time. Being like, okay, I've spent an hour today on here, enough.
Yeah.
And maybe this is something I'm bad with it too. I mean, I spend way too much time probably on social media rather than with the people. Even though we talk about being in the present moment, it's like, oh shit, I have to do this for the podcast page or whatever, because you're thinking about the other people that could potentially need you.
Yeah.
Or maybe we want to feel needed. I don't even know if it's true. But back to anxiety and depression. So seasonally affected for me, for sure.
Yeah, for me too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think for you as well.
For sure.
But because we all seem to be, it's a beautiful day out there, and we're happy, and like I noticed a difference in our mood from just 2 weeks ago.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And definitely we went through another little fucking winter slap in the face with the snow, and we didn't do a podcast last week. My fault mainly because I was in a funk. I think we were all kind of going through a little bit of something. But my anxiety, I find the symptoms for me are like I get like a shaky vision almost. And I'll start feeling that like nervous feeling in the pit of my stomach. And that will make me get all worked up in my head. My thoughts will start racing. And then I'll get like a fight or flight response and wanting to like go to a safe place, right? Even though I know there's no safe place. It's probably better to be around people if you are, you know, or you think you're dying, right? At the time when your heart's popping in your chest. And, you know, luckily, the more that I've been able to talk about this and work through this program, anxiety has not been a big issue for me. I'll wake up sometimes in the morning with a little bit of anxiety about some of the stuff you have to do during the day. Sometimes I won't do it. Sometimes I'll go back to bed if I'm not feeling it. But, you know, the depression I definitely still deal with. Like that's the tough part of just not feeling yourself. And I noticed like, you'll notice if I'm not making sexual jokes, I think I brought this up to you guys before, but like at the bar, for example, when I'm bartending and shit like that, like yesterday, was it yesterday? I think it was, yesterday I spent a good 2 hours talking about hand jobs with the staff. and like, it was just something we were talking about. We got in conversation. It made me laugh. It made me smile. And if I'm starting to do that, I can feel like, wow, I'm actually kind of feeling more like me. Yeah. And I know some people might think that's kind of sick and twisted, but hey, I'm fully willing to admit I'm sick and twisted. Yeah. So, yeah. So anyway, now that I'm back to the sex jokes, I'm starting to feel a little better again. I know that I'm coming out. In the wintertime, I don't make as many of those.
My sarcasm and like, my fun, jokey side comes out.
Yeah, a little more when you're less depressed, right? So that's kind of what the depression and anxiety are to us. Let's talk about a big one here. We went through on session 2, 6 steps designed to put an end to panic attacks. Now, I'll read through those steps because we probably all forget them. But this might help people because I did have a conversation with a friend who's dealing with crippling panic attacks right now. So I hope she's watching. There are the 6 steps that Lucinda Bassett uses to deal with an anxiety attack. The first step is acceptance. So recognize that you are feeling anxious. Accept your body feelings as a symptom of your anxiety and a sign that something is bothering you. Do you remember this stuff?
Oh, yeah.
And then the second step is to give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to feel anxious about whatever it is that is bothering you. Say, of course I feel anxious because, and it's okay to have anxiety. So like, if you're feeling anxious, for example, when I get up in the morning and I have to go get one of those laser treatments on my face, like of course I'm feeling a little anxiety. I know that it's not fun feeling like there's a rubber band being slapped against your fucking face every 2 seconds. But it's okay, and allow yourself to feel that. I know why this is and why I feel this way. Step number 3, big one we promote on here a lot, is to breathe. So first, inhale through your nose slowly for 2 seconds, mentally counting 1 1,000, 2 1,000. Then exhale through your mouth to a mental count of 4 seconds again by 1,000s. Do this for at least 60 seconds. So this is kind of the relaxation technique too, It's just focusing on your breathing. A lot of Buddhist talk is about breathing, and meditation is about breathing. Yoga is about breathing. So anytime you're feeling anxious, focus on your breathing and try to slow it down. Try to slow things down in general, I think, because anxiety really speeds things up.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, especially in your head.
Heart rate start to raise.
Yeah.
I notice I'll hold my breath.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God.
But if you catch yourself doing that, as long as you start slowing your breath down again, it slows everything down.
Yeah.
So the breathing is a big one.
Bringing you back to that moment, right?
Yeah, and it takes you away from your thoughts. If you're focusing on breathing and counting your breathing, it kind of pulls you away from everything else. Even if you have to close your eyes wherever you are.
Yeah.
Or go to the washroom or whatever.
Just not driving.
Yeah, just not driving. I mean, just pull over before you do any of this if you're driving or operating an aircraft, I guess, which was my case. 4 is the inner dialogue. So use truthful, positive dialogue to talk to yourself through the anxious time. It will pass. Examples of dialogue might be, it's just anxiety, it will go away. I will not lose control. I can still go about my business feeling spaced out. It won't hurt me. That's a good one too. I mean, your inner dialogue. When I get anxiety attacks in the past, I remember telling myself, like, what's going on? I've got to get to a hospital. I'm dying. I'm having a heart attack. I have brain cancer. Like, my mind will go through all of this in the span of like 5 seconds. And then before you know it, you're sweating and you feel like you're going to throw up and you're running out of the room.
I am having a heart attack.
Yeah. And it's interesting though, because I'm glad I went through all the anxiety and the panic attacks, because when I'm watching someone else and I see their breathing start to get really like shallow and kind of steep, you can kind of see like this person might be suffering from anxiety. And then I'll kind of try to get calmer and like more relaxing so that their energy, they can feel that energy and hopefully help to slow themselves down too. I think the worst thing to do is to get 2 people in the same room having a conversation that both have anxiety disorder and aren't telling anyone about it. And they're both having an attack, and it's just, one's encouraging the other. Number 5, we talk about good distractions. So number 5 is to distract yourself. Get busy. Do something to release some of this self-induced stimulation, because we know that as you're going through this, you're releasing adrenaline and cortisol and stress hormones. So you have to do something to burn that off. So your body is like a car in high gear with the brakes on. Don't just sit there, walk, jog, clean closets, but do something. Distract yourself from the way you are feeling. That's what you do, Paul. You go for walks, right?
I walk a ton.
Yeah.
You'd think my legs would be bigger.
They're not Scott size yet. We'll work on that, eh?
Maybe walk and walk.
Protein shakes instead of rock stars, eh? Yeah. But when we say distract yourself, we want good distractions. I'm not encouraging everyone to come see me at the bar so I can pour them 20 shots, or to go into the washroom and do a bunch of blow. That's not going to help your anxiety. Trust me, I know from experience.
It might make your heart
drop
a little bit.
It does not help. Number 6 is let time pass. So try to see a little humor in the way that you feel. You may feel weird, but you don't look weird. Give yourself permission to feel weird for a little while. It's no big deal. Try to figure out what's really bothering you. Is it some type of conflict that you don't want to deal with? Is it a scary thought? Is it a ridiculous expectation you have about yourself? How about the television program you watched last night? Okay, that's a spelling mistake. Is it about the television program you watched last night? What is bothering you? And that can very much be true. I know people say that movies and TV shows and things like that don't affect you, but they're pretty real. These, like, if you're,
media can be secretary.
I think that we, absolutely, and you got to be careful what you're feeding your subconscious mind, because we're not necessarily in control of that 24/7, right? I mean, I know that like I can watch a movie that's fairly realistic about, say, terrorism or something, right? And that can trigger like
bad dreams.
Yeah, that can trigger some bad dreams or thoughts of like even just being paranoid about things. And, you know, I think that you just have to kind of be careful about what you feed yourself. Not just in here, but in here as well. And I'm pointing to my stomach and to my mind for those who listen. I always sometimes forget that we're audio too, right?
Was that when I was in the hospital and like talking about anxiety and stuff?
Yeah, you've been the most recent to this probably.
Yeah, so you know, here's someone that suffers from anxiety and just ruptured my quad tendon off, and I'm in the hospital, and then so my heart rate was up, my blood pressure was up, and right away because of my size and my age, they started feeding me information and like saying, well, you know, guys that are bodybuilders in their 40s, you know, a lot of them are dying of heart attacks.
They said that to you?
Yep.
Wow.
And then they said
before surgery?
Yep.
Oh my God.
And then they're like, you know, we really need you to see a cardiologist in here because your heart rate's really high and your blood pressure it wasn't that high. I'm like, I just ruptured, like I ripped my quad off, you know, like I'm in a lot of pain. I think that's kind of normal.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to stay, right? And they were like forcing me to, and then I went home that night. And before I went home, a cardiologist came down, and then the nurse, and they basically said, they're like, well, you know, we really want you to stay and do stay overnight, hook you up, ECG and all that kind of stuff, and we're worried about you, but because you're going home, you know, it's not our fault if, you know, you have a heart attack in the next few days.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
So that first week when I was at home, I was in excruciating amount of pain. Like they planted that seed in my head.
Yeah, that'd be full of
I
anxiety.
didn't sleep,
Yeah,
man. For like 4
I
days. One
because
because of the pain.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have a heart attack, and like I kept thinking, I'm like, because you know I was in the hospital, I'm sweating, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, you know, you're sweating a lot. Like, is your chest hurting? Do you have pain in your arm? I'm like, no. Like, I sweat all the time. Leave me alone, right? And then just like what they said to me was brutal.
You know? Yeah, like how do you sleep? How do you do anything? Or
and like
you feel something, you're like, oh, I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah, I thought like my hands are starting to go down, like numb at night, and like trying to go to sleep, and then like I was afraid.
Yeah, one finger on the 911 on your phone.
Oh, it was a bad week. Like that was
That's bad, dude. I think I know they're trying to just like cover their bases, but there's got to be like. Fuck, man. And I know that like doctors and physicians and nurses, they see so many people. Sometimes it's hard to be, to be caring and sensitive in the way you deliver your information.
Yeah, they were not.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, it's kind of hard. I get it, but like, fuck, it's kind of like you have to. Speaking about reality checks and checking in, you almost have to do that before you see every person, and think about how to sensitively deliver this information to someone that might be
for sure
dealing with some mental health stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like just bedside manner.
Yeah. Well, it is,
doctors and nurses and stuff like that, you know?
Who says that? Like, what kind of doctor says that? Oh, if you go home, you're going to die of a
heart
heart
attack. Well, they got to cover there's so many lawsuits and things coming in. And we're both sons of physicians, but we know that there's got to be a better way to deliver that kind of information. And this is honestly a problem coming up that I've talked to my dad about, is that, like, because of how tough med school is now, the people that are kind of getting in are brilliant from an academic standpoint, right?
But
the communication is not like So delivering news like that, they're not going to have that human component, and they're going to be brilliant on scoring and whatever else. But like, who knows? I mean, when it comes to the actual application, I guess we'll see.
My dad was like developing with all his programs and stuff.
Really, it was like a more compassionate way to
just bedside manner and just communication and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's important, and I think it's definitely needed. Okay, so back to week 4, expectations, because we've talked a little bit of this. I still have trouble with expectations. How to expect less and get more. So we talked about having realistic expectations, or even no expectations at all, about going into things like whether it's a social event and a party. Yeah, go ahead, buddy. Or whether it's even a date and what you expect from it, right? Like, expectations can get you into trouble because you can end up being disappointed. But if you're realistic,
expectations are predetermined resentments.
You think so,
100%. We're never going to meet some people's expectations because they're unrealistic, right? I have unrealistic expectations myself.
Yeah, you know? I do too.
And if I let those go, if I don't let them go, then I've already created a resentment down the road for when I don't meet that expectation and be pissed.
Yeah.
You know, and same thing with other people, right? I think